Self-sovereign identity. What are the problems self-sovereign identity are trying to solve?
So we've touched on some of those today.
Yes.
I think a great one for where we are now and sort of relating it to the domains is this question of vaccine, proof of vaccine and being able to share it so you can go on an international flight and travel. And that use case ends up bringing together several domains that typically don't touch each other. So when I get on an airplane, I'm not taking a medical file with me normally, ever. It's just not relevant. I might say if I had some weird thing that I wanted to tell a flight attendant about, but like no one's by default sharing any medical information with airlines. The same is true with governments when I land with a passport, although it might be different if I'm an immigrant. Like I have immigrated to the United States. I had to go to a medical checkup to get my my permanent residency here. But that's sort of like also not like an everyday thing. It's a special thing for these particular things. But when we're talking about potentially in the coming year, every international flight you take, you need to prove to the country you're landing in that, yes, you're vaccinated. And potentially also, yes, I took a COVID test a day before I got on the plane. Because you can carry the disease even if you're vaccinated, but you just don't really get sick, right? So like, yes, and how do we create a system where I can easily take that little tiny piece of medical information from a medical context and put it into a travel context in a way that's as privacy preserving as possible, that shares the least amount of information and puts the individual as the pivot point? Because I don't want the airline calling my healthcare record system. But how else do they know it's true? So the verifiable credentials technology gives any issuer the ability to cryptographically sign information that they give to you in a digital form, and you can present it to any requester, any verifier that you want, based on what you're trying to do. And it's up to you to share it and not up to the airline to connect to your medical system. You have the power to share it without, you're the point of federation.
There are so many massive stakeholders involved around identity. Like, so when you're talking about health records, and I immediately think of, Apple's Vault on your iPhone which will hold your health records.
Mm-hmm.
Now, intentionally otherwise, it's holding identifiable records around your health, and it could easily hold your vaccination records, for example. Now, they may not be intentionally trying to commercialize your health records, or otherwise it could be just being good citizens, but there's still a large entity which is involved in this management of identity. And then you have obviously government, and then those which maybe want to commercialize your identity, like Facebook, and all these stakeholders. How do you manage that process when you're trying to create this sovereign identity that you have control over? Isn't it seem like an insurmountable problem when you're dealing with these stakeholders and wrenching this information out of their hands to get control over yourself?
Sure. So I think that there is, the good thing is we have some pretty big stakeholders that are really excited about the technology. So I knew that we might be onto something when we had banks showing up and saying, this is really cool. Can we use this too? And we're like, for sure. They don't care two hoots about people controlling their own identity. They care that it's actually way more secure and it's usable public key PKI, public key encryption. That it provides a way to get end users key material that they can use to log into banks in a usable way. And bonus, they could potentially bring verifiable credentials from a trusted entity with them.